When thinking of Transylvania, one might imagine a place filled with werewolves or vampires. This region, located in Romania, is known for many strange legends and myths. However, long before the legend of Dracula arose in our culture, Transylvania was an offshore island, an island on which its inhabitants were affected by a bizarre phenomenon, causing some animals to shrink in size. It was truly the prehistoric island of dwarves, a world upside down, a world where pterosaurs preyed on dinosaurs. During the Late Cretaceous, rising sea levels transformed much of Europe into an archipelago of large islands surrounded by the shallow Tethys Sea. Among these, Hațeg Island stood out in the most extraordinary way, covering around 80,000 square kilometers or 30,900 square miles. Its size was comparable to that of present-day Ireland. However, unlike the other islands situated in shallow waters, Hațeg was surrounded by a deep marine basin. Back in the day, the island was positioned at about 27 degrees north of the equator and was about 200 kilometers or 120 miles from the nearest landmass. This geographic position allowed for a subtropical climate, characterized by rainy and dry seasons, average temperatures of 20 to 25 degrees Celsius or 68 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and a landscape dominated by networks of rivers and lakes. Finally, this distinctive environment was home to animals that exhibited characteristics of a phenomenon known as island syndrome. Isolation and the distinctive environment of an island often lead to notable differences in the morphology, physiology, and behavior of its native species, compared to their continental counterparts. This unique form of evolutionary divergence is not just a theoretical concept, it's observable in the modern world. Currently, this phenomenon is evident in regions such as Madagascar and Australia, where isolation has led to a variety of unique traits and strange animals found nowhere else on the planet. One of the primary drivers is reduced predation, which occurs when an ecosystem cannot support a sufficient biomass of prey to satisfy predators. Another factor is the reduced biodiversity. Island ecosystems tend to consist of large populations of a limited number of species, resulting in reduced interspecific competition. Furthermore, factors such as reduced sexual selection or reduced parasite diversity also play significant roles. A special aspect of this adaptation process is known as the island rule, also referred to as the island effect or Foster's rule. Formulated in 1973 by J. Bristol Foster, the rule emerged from a comparative study of over 100 island species and their mainland counterparts. His findings revealed a fascinating trend. Depending on the resources available, certain animals on islands either became significantly smaller or larger. Large species isolated on islands either become extinct due to the lack of sufficient amount of space and food, or they adapt, as seen with island dwarfism or insular dwarfism, a process where large animals gradually become smaller over generations. There are several explanations behind this. One is that smaller animals need fewer resources and less space, making the island ecosystem much more suitable. Among herbivores, large sizes provide advantage for dealing with both competition and predators. However, a reduction or absence of either would trigger dwarfing, with competition being the more significant factor. For carnivores, the size and availability of prey resources seem to be the more important determinant. In contrast, the inverse process called island gigantism occurs when small animals on isolated islands lack predators or competition and grow to larger sizes than normally. Excellent examples of this include the giant moa from New Zealand and the dodo from Mauritius. Nevertheless, the longer an island is isolated, the more different its inhabitants may become, ultimately resulting in the animals evolving into separate species. In the rocks of this island, dating back to the Maastrichtian, the final age of the Cretaceous period, about 70 million years ago, paleontologists have unearthed numerous species of dwarfed dinosaurs. While some may argue that these individuals represented juveniles, detailed analyses of their bone chemistry have confirmed that these small-sized dinosaurs were in fact fully grown adults. Consider Magyarosaurus, for instance, a small titanosaur that only reached lengths of around 6 meters or 20 feet and a maximum weight of approximately 1,000 kilograms or 2,200 pounds, ranking it as one of the smallest sauropods ever discovered. In sharp contrast, other mainland titanosaurs from the same period, such as the Alamosaurus, achieved enormous sizes of up to 26 meters in length and weighed as much as 38 tons, making the Magyarosaurus appear remarkably dwarfed by comparison. However, Magyarosaurus wasn't the only plant-eating dinosaur inhabiting the island. Other dwarf herbivorous species included Paludititan nalatzensis, a notosaurid Struthiosaurus transylvanicus, a hadrosauromorph Telmatosaurus transylvanicus, 2 rhabdodontid species, Zalmoxis robustus and Zalmoxis scipirorum, as well as the relatively recently identified rhabdodontid Transylvanosaurus platycephalus. Furthermore, Hațeg was also home to Balor bondoc, a large flightless herbivorous bird, which was initially classified as an unusual dromaeosaurid, but later reassigned to the Avialae group because of several differences that set it apart from other raptors. Speaking of raptors, the partial fossilized remains of carnivorous theropods in this region suggest that these predatory dinosaurs were also subject to insular dwarfism. So it might seem that the island's dinosaurs faced minimal threats, right? Well, not quite. In this inverted world, danger surfaced not from the land, but from the sky. The dwarfism of Hațeg's dinosaurs was contrasted by the presence of Hatzegopteryx, the top predator of this island. Belonging to the Ajdarchidae family, which included some of the largest known species of pterosaurs, Hatzegopteryx featured a wingspan of up to 12 meters or 40 feet and stood around 4.6 meters or 15 feet tall. This giraffe-sized flying reptile preyed on the island's significantly smaller dinosaurs and casted a shadow over Hațeg's unique ecosystem. While there is no definitive answer to how dinosaurs arrived on this island, whether they were stranded as sea levels rose, swam the short distances between islands, or were brought by sea currents, what is certain is that the island's isolation played a significant role in shaping their physical characteristics and behavior. However, Hațeg was not the only island where isolated prehistoric animals underwent size reduction. More than 13,000 years ago, during the late Pleistocene, a lineage of mammoths with dwarf proportions, referred to as the pygmy mammoth, emerged on the northern Channel Islands off the coast of California. But more about this topic in another video.